Hey, good Wednesday morning, everybody. BAM weather meteorologist Brett Waltz here for the weekly winter weather Wednesday update. And if you are looking for cold and snow, you are going to want to watch this video. We have a lot of interesting research today and potential increasing threats of a very cold pattern, maybe a snowy one, as we start out the month of December. We'll talk about whether that will have staying power or not. But certainly, if you're looking for cold and snow, favorable trends for that over the past several days. We'll also go over the polar vortex, whether it's trending favorably for snow. The Pacific pattern, we're seeing some signals that we haven't seen consistently for a decade or more. A battle of some pattern drivers that we need to still keep an eye on, and then the increasing likelihood that La Nina is just going to fail to materialize. Now, real quickly, before we get into that, I do want to talk about the snow chances, accumulating snowfall event that's likely to develop across parts of the Midwest and the Ohio Valley as we go over the next 48 hours or so, let's say 24 hours or so. You can see some snow showers ramping up today across parts of the upper Midwest. It's a very odd system. If you take a look here, here's actually the initial low. You can see it. This is this afternoon about 4 p.m. The initial low is well off to the east, but watch what ends up happening with it. It actually ends up shifting to the north, kind of redeveloping up here north of Michigan. And as we continue to go along, it actually curves all the way back down south, kind of rides Lake Michigan there, and allows for snow to actually develop on the south side of the low pressure system and dive through Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, Chicago metro area, down towards the I-70 corridor, and eventually into Kentucky as well. A very, very odd track in terms of this system. It's not one I can really ever recall seeing. Nonetheless, it is going to produce some accumulating snow as we get into tomorrow. If we go back over here to our forecast, I want to show you all what we're looking at just in terms of this outlook here in terms of snow tomorrow. And here's a look at our projections that's in our Clarity platform as of this morning, as of 7:15 a.m. this morning. This darker blue, that's where we're going to be able to see 2 to 4 inches of snow. Now, keep in mind, it was 70 degrees yesterday for a lot of areas. Not everything that falls will actually end up sticking. In fact, I would imagine that we could have about 50% of what falls from the sky actually end up melting. Regardless, some slushy pavement accumulations not off the table. 1 to 2 inches kind of in the slate blue color down towards Lexington, Cincinnati, and then less than an inch in this lighter turquoise and gray color. Now, beyond this storm system, we do warm things back up. The mild air will return as we go into next week, right before Thanksgiving. But look at what's happening up to the north and to the west, and this is important. Colder air is building. You're not going to get cold in the wintertime, relative to normal, if you don't have a good source of cold air building up. The last several years, this particular region has been pretty mild. The only time that we've really seen cold air build like this in the Mountain West and in the Canadian prairies was back in, I think it was February of 2021, when you had that big Arctic blast that happened and shut down the state of Texas for several days. And so it's been a while since we've had really a good source of cold air. And so it's encouraging, if you're looking for cold, to see this happening here in the medium range. If you take a look, after that mild air returns, what happens is a storm system moves through late November into early December, and it allows for this colder air to spread further east. Just building that cold air to the north will give us the ability behind storm systems and with storm systems to tap into colder air and pull cold air in and lead to a colder stretch. This is the first 5-ish days of December. I would say an increasing likelihood that that period is going to be colder than normal. If you take a look here at just how things average out for week 2, again, we've got some warmth ahead of the storm. Let's not completely forget about that. The core of the cold is going to be up here in terms of the 7-day average, and some warmth off to the east. But what I think ultimately that could allow to happen is a favorable storm track in here. We'll need to watch for additional wintry chances, maybe a winter storm sometime in this week 2 time frame between Thanksgiving and the start of December. Central Plains, Ohio Valley, Midwest, somewhere in there for additional wintry weather chances. In terms of precipitation, you can certainly see the active pattern. This is the week 2 EPS forecast. I don't really have a big disagreement with it. May not be perfect, maybe a little bit broad brush with some of the rains, especially in the south central plains, but an above normal pattern, a more active than normal pattern, and if we can tap into that cold air, again, one that can favor wintry weather chances. Now, taking a little bit more of a granular look here at the pattern, I see a lot of similarities in the upper level pattern right now to 2022 and 2013. Now, 2022 was not a super memorable one in terms of snow, but if you go back and look, December of 2022 was cold, especially early in the month and late in the month. 2013 obviously is the most memorable year, probably in the past 15 years or so for much of the US. And again, I see a lot of similarities to 2024 right now to 2013. Some key features. You have this Pacific area of high pressure, especially over near western Alaska and Russia. You have this warmth and this ridging here, kind of south and east of Greenland in Western Europe. We certainly have that. And then perhaps the most important thing is you have what we call cross-polar flow, where you get this cold air source to be able to circulate all the way from the Arctic Ocean over towards Russia and then into the United States. We're seeing that here as well in this week 2 pattern. We have a tap to colder air in the United States, which is very, very important. You have to have that to get extended bouts of cold, and it certainly helps with snow as well. If you take a look at the polar vortex, which is kind of driving that cross-polar flow in the tap to colder air, again, a lot of similarities to both 2022 and 2013. If we take a look here, guys, you can see that the core of the vortex was towards North America, towards Greenland and North America in both of these years, and that's exactly what the data is trying to do in the extended range. And keep in mind, this is a day 15 forecast, so it probably, if it continues to roll forward in this direction, even trends a little bit further down to the south. Again, very similar to those years. And to highlight why that's so critical, if you look at these 2 years, look at where the cold air was. This is the kind of mid-level, low to mid-level temperature anomalies. Core of the cold in 2022 over North America, those deeper purples. Core of the cold in 2013 from Greenland to North America, those darker purples. Again, look how warm Asia is. The last several years, the coldest air on the planet has gone over to Asia, and we've never really been able to tap into extended periods of notable cold. Look how similar that is to 2013. Here's the forecast. It is nearly identical with Asia and building warmth there and sending the colder air, the coldest air on the planet, towards North America. And so, again, that is a very, very favorable signal and a sign that we're going to be able to tap into colder air going into December. The Pacific is another big driver that, in my opinion, right now is very favorable. If you take a look, this is what we call a negative WPO. That's the West Pacific Oscillation. It's basically high pressure and ridging western Alaska and eastern Russia. Going back through the last 20 plus years, in terms of extended stretches of a negative WPO in December, 2022 is the only year that had more than 10 dates in the past 10 years. Before that, you have to go back to 2013, 2012, 2010, 09, 08, 05. This type of a setup that we are seeing right now has not happened very often over the past 10 years. In fact, again, other than 2022, and it wasn't even the whole month, we really have not seen this pattern in a decade or more. What that means, it means a colder risk. You look at these years here, you combine them together, look at how similar it is to the week 2 forecast. It's almost identical. We are clearly feeling the impact of that right now, and if we can continue that signal, it would favor this colder air to be able to hang around throughout the month of December. But I have to mention the caveat. Not so fast. Not so fast. I don't want to completely ignore this big signal, and that's our tropical forcing in the MJO. We're going to be moving thunderstorm activity, tropical forcing towards the maritime continent into December. MJO phases 4 and 5 especially, maybe into 6. Historically, those are very warm signals. Phase 4, phase 5, phase 6. If you look at 2022, it had some of this as well, and it was warmer in mid-December. Now, it got colder again to end the month, but for the middle part of December, it was warmer, as is what the CFS Weekly is trying to do. And so you do have a little bit of a battle of these pattern drivers that's setting up. And so where we are at right now is kind of a mix. I think that there's cold air. There is going to be a source of cold air, but keeping the southern and eastern tier of the U.S. a little bit warmer because of these warm tropical forcing signals here. With that being said, I would say if there's a higher risk, the higher risk is for the pattern to trend colder, which would be to shove these below normal temperatures further south and east. And regardless, this gradient that would set up here with the colder air to the north and warmer air to the south would be a favorable one for winter weather opportunities as we head into the first half of December, especially north of I-70 and into the upper Midwest. We tried to highlight that here with our medium range snowfall risk. St. Louis, Des Moines, Chicago, Indy, Minneapolis, Bismarck. I think that it can be a stretch that favors above normal snow opportunities for this time of the year. In terms of beyond, the middle part of December, this is going to be something important to watch. La Nina failing. The latest values in terms of the ENSO regions are not suggestive of a La Nina, and the latest model guidance, guys, is also pretty much losing any signals of a La Nina. There's a couple of members that get down there into weak La Nina territory, but the vast majority here stay cool neutral. Again, the last cool neutral winters were 2013-14 and 2012-13. We have not really had that in a long time, and I think it would open the door, if this persists, that eastern U.S. ridge and that warmth that's been so dominant in our recent La Nina years could be mitigated a little bit. Something that we're going to very much keep an eye on and have an update to our December, January, February forecast before the end of the month, assuming that this stays the same. Now, I can't promise that we're going to completely flip the pattern to cold for the entire winter, but it's a better trend if you don't want it to be mild. So that's where I'll leave it for today. Certainly a very intriguing pattern coming up, and one that could favor more opportunities for cold and snow for you winter weather lovers. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Winter Weather Wednesday, where we focus just on the winter pattern ahead. Hope you all have a great day, and talk to you soon.